I'm gonna take everything from you. I'm gonna take everything from you.
Let's be clear, reading the testimony of survivors of October 7th from Kibbutz Be'eri, like Yasmin Porat, was extremely harrowing. What she alleges is not only that her husband was killed in the initial takeover, but also she then says that the Israeli military tanks fired on the room where the hostages were, killing 12 Israeli civilian captives. We have also seen fantastic work in the Haaretz newspaper by Amos Harel, where he speaks at length about Brigadier General Rosenfeld, who was in charge of the Eretz crossing. Now, when this military base was taken over, what he says, Amos Harel in Haaretz, the well-known Israeli newspaper, he says that Rosenfeld, when he realized that the base was overtaken, called in an airstrike. This is in Haaretz, these are not my words, these are the words of Amos Harel. What we then saw is, since October the 7th, 22 Israeli civilian detainees killed in Gaza by Israeli airstrikes.
Some
Yes.
of them are holding their own civilians hostage, but what about our civilians that are
Yeah.
in Gaza?
Yeah. So it's the same thing. If Israel would tell them, we're going to destroy you, and there are no conditions, there's nothing you can say that's going to stop us. And what do they need the hostages for?
But Amalek also just killed.
That's why we just have to kill them.
So they're gonna kill our hostages either way.
So where does that leave us? So they are, if they say, you can't bomb us, you're going to kill the hostages. So we're helpless. We can't do that. We are not helpless. We're going to do what we're going to do.
The Israeli military has something called the Hannibal Directive. The Hannibal Directive was developed in Lebanon in the 80s by the Israelis with the clear understanding that they do not want the other side to take hostages. So, for example, you have the case of Hada Golding in 2014, what Israel called Operation Protective Edge, which killed over 2,200 Palestinians. But when this Israeli soldier was taken captive by the Palestinians, Israel then proceeded to kill everyone, including the civilians in the area around where he was kept and the soldier himself. So what Israel has, unfortunately, is a policy of killing captives, is a policy of killing captives, is a policy of killing captives.
We're gonna make history. We're gonna change how everything is gonna look, and we're gonna do it right.
From the Jordan River to the Middle East, that's all ours. It was promised to us. There's no Palestinian nation. No one wants them, so why we? Because we are good. We finished to be good 3 weeks ago.
I think the bombing is good. I think they should have a lot more of the bombing, the bombarding. I think we can do a lot more inside of Gaza. It's a fight between the good and the bad, the good and the evil.
The only innocent people that are in Gaza now are the 229 hostage that were taken. Once they will go back to Israel, we will bomb Shifa Hospital, all the hospitals, all the tunnels, and kill them all. We will bomb Shifa Hospital, all the hospitals, all the tunnels, and kill them all. We will bomb Shifa Hospital, all the hospitals, all the tunnels, and kill them all.
The worst single mass killing of Palestinians in the Israel-Gaza war so far. Hundreds are dead after a blast at a hospital. Chaos and horror at the scene. Much of the building has been destroyed. A panic to treat the injured. Thousands of people were sheltering at the hospital, having fled Israel's bombing campaign targeting Hamas. They thought they were safe. Now Gazans once again count the cost of this war.
Israel denies it was responsible, blaming Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Jordan, Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia condemn what they say was an Israeli attack.
Based on the information we've seen to date, it appears the result of an errant rocket fired by a terrorist group in Gaza. The United States unequivocally stands for the protection of civilian life during conflict, and I truly grieve for the families who were killed or wounded by this tragedy.
We will pour Shifa Hospital, all the hospitals, all the tunnels, and kill them all. We will pour Shifa Hospital, all the hospitals, all the tunnels, and kill them all. We will pour Shifa Hospital, all the hospitals, all the tunnels, and kill them all.
In terms of the warnings that you got, could you tell us what form of warnings? Were they written warnings, telephone calls, and how many of them were there ahead of this?
We have, since the decision being made about evacuation of North Gaza to the south of Gaza, we have received 3 warnings. So beginning, I think, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So these 3 were many by telephone. They will phone the administration, telling them as much as they did because they have the phone numbers of all the directors of the hospital, so they can they either send message or whatever means they have to notify. So these are the 3 warnings that they were.
So you received 3 warnings after the first strike to your church, saying that the hospital would be bombed. What did the warning say?
Warning that the hospital will be bombed. Let's be clear. The warnings, they were to evacuate the hospital.
To evacuate the hospital?
Yes, that was the warning.
But the warning was that otherwise, sorry to be clarified, that was implicit in that was the idea that the hospital would be bombed because you had to evacuate it. They said you would evacuate the hospital.
The connection you make, what happened on the facts on the ground? 3 days before the actual bombing, the hospital was hit in the 2 floors that I mentioned, and then we continued to receive the notices to evacuate, and then the hospital was struck last night. So these are the facts on the ground that actually happened.
Given that the facts as you have set them out to us here in this room, the Israeli denies that they are involved in the bombing and that it was an Israeli missile. We must accept that they are worthless, they are baseless, those Israeli denials, given they sent you 3 warnings to evacuate the hospital. Do you agree with that analysis?
People can analyze what they want to analyze. Again, from our point of view, we as a church, we continue to say that, the place, the hospital itself is a sanctuary for people, and what happened there is a crime. We are not, again, a military people to decide, or we are not journalists to analyze. We are not politicians to decide. What we are saying here is that, what has happened in the hospital is a crime, is a massacre.
We will pour Shifa Hospital, all the hospitals, all the tunnels, and kill them all. We will pour Shifa Hospital, all the hospitals, all the tunnels, and kill them all. We will pour Shifa Hospital, all the hospitals, all the tunnels, and kill them all. We will pour Shifa Hospital, all the hospitals, all the tunnels, and kill them all. It's about time. The world knows that. There's no argue about that. We are the center of the world now. We are the center of the world now. We are the center of the world now.
The big lie becomes overwhelmingly obvious. Hitler's propaganda minister, Joseph Goebbels, actually said, and here he's giving away the fact that they know they're lying, he actually said that if you repeat something, however ridiculous, enough times, you can convince people of anything you want to convince them of. You can convince them that a square is a circle. It's a matter of repetition. It's a matter of controlling the media. It's a matter of pounding away with a point of view until otherwise normal people believe it just because of the repetition. Until otherwise normal people believe it just because of the repetition. Until otherwise normal people believe it just because of the repetition.
I never really thought that I would see and have confirmed pictures of terrorists beheading children. I never thought I'd ever, anyway.
And you know what is similar? Is when you spread the lies of 40 decapitated babies, although it was refuted. So what happens when people hear that, you know, killing babies is horrible. But when you say decapitated 40 babies, you are planting a certain image
Well, who has
with a
said
certain
that?
trigger in people's mind.
Who has said
Huh?
that? Who has said 40?
Who has said that?
Who
You
has
have
said
said
that?
40 decapitated.
Who has said
you
that?
You have repeat.
No, I haven't.
What?
I've never said that.
You haven't said on your show 40 decapitated
No.
babies?
Never. No.
Decapitated babies?
Never. No.
Decapitated babies?
Never.
We can't ignore this extraordinarily sad, horrible story that's come out of Israel. What do you make of this?
It's barbaric. I mean, it's one of the... I can't think of anything that has upset me more other than 9/11. And I don't really want to talk about it too much because I get upset. So if you want me to be crying during your show, go ahead.
No, I tell you,
I'm a bit-
I myself, I choked up earlier reading this new revelation about 40 babies being killed.
Oh my God.
And some of them
Don't.
being beheaded. Reading this new revelation about 40 babies being killed.
Oh my God.
And some of them
Don't.
being beheaded. About 40 babies being killed.
Oh my God.
And some of them
Don't.
being beheaded.
About 40 babies being killed.
Oh my God.
And some of them being beheaded.
Here's how unverified information can change the landscape of a war and pave the way for horrific outcomes. You've likely seen the headlines about 40 babies being beheaded by Hamas fighters in the Kfar Aza village in southern Israel. It's hard to miss. It's everywhere. It's been carried by a number of reputable news outlets, repeated on live TV by powerful political figures, and featured on the front cover of British newspapers. The only problem is there's so far no proof to the story, but it hasn't stopped a spiraling and dizzying loop of hysteria from dominating the news cycle over the last few days. So how did it spread? So how did it spread? So how did it spread?
We will pour Shifa Hospital, all the hospitals, all the tunnels, and kill them all. We will pour Shifa Hospital, all the hospitals, all the tunnels, and kill them all. We will pour Shifa Hospital, all the hospitals, all the tunnels, and kill them all.
fact on the ground is Judaism is subservience to God. Zionism is a transformation to a base nationalism. It is totally contradictory. It is antithetical to this Tower Judaism. The fact is, no matter what the Zionists or they're going to come with their intimidation or their whatever explanation, the fact is Judaism does not accept Zionism. It cannot accept Zionism. In every aspect of Zionism, it's contradictory. It is based on blasphemy. Secondly, in its actions, It's totally, it's criminal. You're not allowed to kill or steal. If in its essence, we're not allowed to have a state. But on top of that, being that they came to Palestine, they created the state by driving the Palestinians from the land. Yes, they started at the beginning buying land because the Arabs and Muslims knew that the Jews they just want to buy a piece of land. They didn't believe in their. And the furthest thought that it could be that they want to aspire to create their own land. But so they then realize what they're doing, that they want to make their own state, that they want to make their own state, that they want to make their own state.
פעם עשירית אמרתי לך, תיכנס לפנים.
So the way to talk about the Jewish community in general, there are not very many Jews on the planet. Due to conspiracy theories, people tend to think there are tens of millions of Jews on the planet. The grand total number of Jews on planet Earth is about 15 million. About 7 million who live in the state of Israel. There are about 6 million who live in the United States.
Today, it is prohibited, and you can Google this, to do a DNA test in Israel. Totally forbidden. Wrong. It's illegal. It's a crime. You'll be jailed if you do a DNA test in Israel. Why? Because they know the truth will come out. You come from Poland, you come from Ukraine, you came from Europe, you came from everywhere else. And they were the original Middle Eastern Jews who lived together with the Muslims and the Christians for centuries. For centuries. So what happened to a lot of the Jews? So what happened to a lot of the Jews? So what happened to a lot of the Jews?
You know what you are? You're an ancient Israelite.
Ancient Israelite, that's who we are. That's who we are. So, if you give me time, if you give me time, how that you say?
I know. We don't have
so many years.
I know. Look at this. This is pages and pages of notes. And I promise we'll give more teaching. But here is my challenge to you.
All right.
I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews? Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews? Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews?
What was that? Our future. I'm gonna take everything from you. I'm gonna take everything from you. I'm gonna take everything from you.
You say, well, where did the name Ashkenazi came from? So, a little over 1,000 years ago, as Jewish people scattered around the world had now immigrated in Europe and now were living in the Rhineland in Germany, they looked at the name Gomer in Genesis 10, and they connected Gomer with Germany, so they took on the identity of the name Ashkenaz. It has nothing to do with Ashkenaz in the Bible, which is a descendant of Yafet. It's just a name that was taken. Okay, it's that simple. Just like my last name Brown doesn't refer to the color of my skin or anything else. It was shortened from a Russian name when my grandfather came over at Ellis Island. The name got shortened to Brown. It's just a name. That's all it is. So the idea that Ashkenazi Jews are descended from Yafet is a myth, 100% false.
What was that? Our future. I'm gonna take everything from you. I'm gonna take everything from you. I'm gonna take everything from you.
Why do you think that the U.S. is so quick to go help Israel fight against the Palestinians? Why? They know that the Jewish people in Israel are not the original people. Oh, no, no, no. They are definitely not. The original people are Black people and people of color. So why did one lady, Judith Shore, she was the Israeli consul, say that the biggest threat in Israel is the younger Black community? Why do they feel so threatened? Why? Because you know why? They know that the Black people were the original chosen ones, the original ones that were there. The people over there now, they took over all that land, just like they're trying to take over all of Palestine. They have taken so much land from Palestine also, but watch what this lady says about the Black community being Israel's biggest problem. The Black community being Israel's biggest problem. The Black community being Israel's biggest problem.
The major problem of Israel is with the young generation of the Black community. Black Lives Matter starts there. I had last week a sit-down dinner at my house with 40 people, which are considered the leadership of the Black community.
Like what? Did you just tell on yourselves that, you know, how y'all took slaves out of there back in the day and brought them, you know, and made them make America and all this because you took them from their original spot. And now they are trying to sit there and continue to take all the little bit of land that Palestine has. The U.S. is evil. The U.S. is evil, not the people in it, because I am from the U.S. But what I'm saying, all the ish is crazy. We have U.S. soldiers over there going to sit there and kill innocent kids, women, children, elderly men, everything in Palestine. But how did Black people, all of a sudden, young Black people and the community of Black people, all of a sudden become the problem to Israel? Please explain this to me. Is it because your guilt's starting to get to you? Is it because your guilt's starting to get to you? Is it because your guilt's starting to get to you?
What are the goals of the Zionists? What are their true intentions? This official letter signed by President Harry Truman actually answers this question. This letter proves that the true agenda of the Zionists was to create a Jewish state, a European presence in Northeast Africa, which is now called the Middle East, and not the restoration of ancient Israel. The letter reads, "This government has been informed that a Jewish state has been proclaimed in Palestine, and recognition has been requested by the provisional government thereof." Now keep in mind, provisional means arranged or existing for the present, possibly to be changed later. This means the Zionists were officially given a blank check to carry out their agenda worldwide without any pushback from other nations. Now let me start over. This government has been informed that a Jewish state has been proclaimed in Palestine, and recognition has been requested by the provisional government thereof. The United States recognizes the provisional government as the de facto authority of the state of Israel. Now, why did the late President Truman strike through Jewish state and wrote above it, State of Israel? Had he not done that, the current land of Israel would actually be called Jewish state. If you can fully grasp Zionism's true intentions, you'd also understand the agenda behind the words Jew and Jewish. You'd fully understand why they make clear distinctions between ancient Israelites versus Jew or Jewish.
You know what you are? You're an ancient Israelite.
Ancient Israel, that's who we are. That's who we are. So, if you give me time, if you give me time, how that he said,
no, we don't have
so many years.
I know. Look at this. This is pages and pages of notes. And I promise we'll give more teaching. But here is my challenge to you.
All right.
I'm hearing some of your traditions It's like the days of the Bible. Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews? Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews? Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews?
Weeks ago, the Israeli government denied bombing the hospitals in Gaza, and now they are purposely bombing refugee camps. This is the same people whose ancestors were led to the death trains during the Holocaust with the supposed goal of keeping them out of harm's way, but actually led them to the concentration camps. Now, the same people instructed the Palestinians to flee south for safety only to bomb that area. Should we be surprised at their actions? Did you know that the land of Israel was not the initial place the Zionists targeted? In fact, at the 6th Zionist Congress at Basel on August 26, 1903, Herzl proposed the British-Uganda program, initially targeting Uganda, followed by Canada and Australia. They also targeted Iraq, Libya, and Angola. Believe it or not, they even targeted Texas. What are their long-term goals? Should the Negroes living in the United States have any concerns? Absolutely. I believe the situation in Palestine can quite possibly be a dress rehearsal for things to come. Remember, during Red Summer or Blood Summer of 1919, the United States declared war on the Negroes, which over 36 of our communities were bombed using military forces and other military artillery, and other military artillery, and other military artillery.
And for all y'all Black Lives Matter who ain't saying nothing, well, let me figure out exactly what happened before I say anything. Fuck you. Figure out what? It ain't never been cool to kidnap kids and put them in cages. It ain't never been cool to kill women and elderly. Never been. No matter where you from, what you represent, what tribe you for, it don't matter. There ain't never been no cool. There ain't never been none that nobody supported. And then you go and hide and put the kids in front of you as a barricade. That's some cowardice. All you politicians who always had something to say on the contrary, I see you. Fuck you. All you Black Lives Matter people who always had something to say and always supported everything else, and you quiet now, fuck you too. Only place in the world where I can go and study Torah and eat kosher food. Only place in the world. Only place in the world. Only place in the world.
Many within our community were manipulated to hate the Black Lives Matter organization, but want to ignore the absolute facts. They brought attention to the lynchings of our brothers and sisters to a worldwide platform. Now, I want to be clear. I don't condone the questionable actions and decisions of that organization, but they did raise the level of awareness to the brutalities we have been subjected to as a people. You heard with your own ears from the Israeli Council General based in Atlanta that the Black Lives Matter is only part of the problem to a much bigger issue, the young black man. Sounds familiar? This is the same playbook by the Egyptians. This is the same playbook by the Edomite king Herod. This is the same playbook by Planned Parenthood. Why did I use the Spider-Man theme and the supervillain Mr. Spots? I believe this supervillain is parallel to the agenda of Zionism. Early in the movie, Mr. Spots wasn't taken serious by Miles and was referred to as the villain of the week. Each spot or hole on his body is a portal to different timelines. Likewise, each spot or hole is parallel to the agenda and every lie connected to Zionism. Throughout the movie, we see this supervillain cultivate his powers as he revealed his agenda to Miles. Quote, "The future, I'm going to take everything from you." As he shares his future snapshots of killing Miles' father. Sounds familiar? Attack the young men by killing the father? One last thing to note, Miles learned that everyone was in on the sham, that he could not trust anyone. The question is, what's left to take?